Hi crafters, welcome to another KISS segment. Keep it simple, Sylvia. This will be our last simple flower making session because the month of March is all over with. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 pieces of 12 by 12 scrap paper. I'm choosing double-sided, but you don't have to. You need to use a fairly thin scrapbooking paper. Some scrapbooking papers are heavy and some are, thin and easy to work with. This one works a lot better with thinner paper because we are actually going to be doing some folding. And we need to cut on the fold so that if you use a thinner paper, it's going to work a lot better. And what we're going to start out with, and I don't measure, this is just a flower. I'm going to make about a 3-inch square. So I'm just going to get my scissors and I'm just going to cut. I'm going to cut about a 3-inch square. And they don't have to be exact because we're going to be folding and cutting. Okay, so now I've got 2. Next I'm going to do is I'm going to make a square a little bit bigger than what I just cut. Because we're going to be layering these together. So I'm just going a little bit, here, I'll turn it over so you can see better. I'm just going to go a little bit bigger than what I had cut here. Okay, now we're going to cut another one. It's going to be just a little bit bigger than what we just cut. And then we're going to cut a final one. Just a little bit bigger than what we just cut. And then I'm just going to trim off the edge here. Okay. This is probably the trickiest part of the whole thing, is trying to get these things folded. Doesn't matter whether you start with the big one you just cut or the small one. Okay, and then you have to decide what side do you want. Do you want it to be the flower, the pattern side up, or the colors, different color side up? If you use 2 different sided papers that are 2 different colors, you just have to decide which one you want. So I'm going to make it with the pattern side up. What we're going to do is we're going to fold these in half on the diagonal, not this way, but on the diagonal. And it doesn't matter if your points don't line up. This just does not matter. Okay, so now we've got it folded on the diagonal. I'm going to take the bottom fold up here. I'm going to have the diagonal on the left, the bottom fold up here, and I'm going to put it up at the top and crease it. And it's important that you get your creases pretty tight, so crease them pretty good. Okay, so fold on this edge, fold it up. I got 2 folds on this edge, a single fold on this edge. I'm going to take the single folded edge and I'm going to fold it up again to the point. Crease it good. Now, I've got 3 folds on this side and I've got a single fold on this side. I'm going to take the single sided and I'm going to go across. I'm not going to fold up. I'm going to go across. I'm going to go over to this point, and this gets a little hard because the paper starts to get thick, so you might have to crease it with your thumb down the center here, and then you end up with something that looks like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to take from this folded edge where you only have one edge, and we're going to cut a little curve across to the point over here where this edge meets all of these edges. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut over to the point. Now, turn it over, and on this side that's got the single fold, cut it down. And cut it down to just about a thumb width from the bottom. So I'm going to cut it down. I'm cutting through all those folds. Now open it up, and sometimes you're going to see that it's not completely cut straight, cut through here because of the thickness of the fold. You might have to cut with your scissors in here. So just open it up. And what you should have is an 8-petal flower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-petal flower. We're going to set it aside, and we're going to do it with another sheet that we cut that was exactly the same size. Once again, fold it on the diagonal. Put the folded edge on the left side. Fold it up so they meet. Now you notice I don't really have clear points and stuff. That's okay, because remember, we're cutting it off. Smooth out this one edge that's just the single fold and got the double fold. Take the single folded side, fold it up again. Crease real good. Take the single sided side and fold to now where you've got 3 sides. But you're going to fold it across. Fold it across itself. Then you're going to take your scissors. You're going to start wherever you want to start. It doesn't matter because we're going to come back and we're going to cut this edge. Just start where you want to start and curve it over to this point that meets up with the edges. Now turn it over. And the reason I turn it over is because I'm right-handed and it's easier for me to cut this way. If you feel more comfortable cutting it this way, that's fine, but I don't. So I just turn it over, and now I'm going to trim these petals downward till I'm about 1 inch, which is about a thumb width from the bottom. Open it up, and I've got my 8-sided flower. Okay, got that? Just set it aside. Now grab the next sheet of paper, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. Fold it on the diagonal, crease it, have the edge on the left side, fold it up, crease it, take the single edge side, fold it up to the double edge side, crease it, take the single edge side, you got 3 now, fold it across itself. And now that the paper is getting smaller, it's getting a little harder to do. Take your scissors, start on a curve, and cut to the point. Turn it over, and start cutting down to about 1 inch from the bottom. As the flowers get smaller, you're going to have to judge that distance a little better. Now here's an example of what I was telling you earlier. Depending on how thick it gets, this side cut through pretty good. This side didn't. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my scissors and just cut down. So now I know that I've got all my flowers pretty much the same way. Okay? Okay, I'm going to pause the video now, and I'm going to finish cutting all of the rest of my flowers out, okay? So hold on, and I'll be right back as soon as I get them all. Okay, we're on our smallest flower now. I've got all the other ones cut and folded. It really, really helps if you make sure that the creases are really, really tight when you're getting down to the smaller side, because it becomes harder and harder to fold and harder to cut. So what I do is I make sure that all of my folds are creased really good. Use your fingernail or a bone folder, or you can actually just use your scissors. I just take the end of my scissors and I just run that across the fold there and crease it down really good. And this gets harder to fold because it's a much smaller piece of paper. Okay, I'm going to crease that again. Once again, I'm just going to use the handle part of my scissors, and I'm just going to crease that down as good as I can get that crease down. It really does help make it a better flower. Okay, so I've got that creased, and remember, you go from the one single-sided fold over to the 3. You start curving your little flower petal over to the point. I turn it over and I'm going to start cutting down on this side now so I can cut out my petals. Open it up. Now this side cut down pretty good, this one didn't, so I need to make sure that I open that up. Okay. Now we got all of our flowers made. We're going to glue them together 2 by 2. But before we do it, we can primp up these little edges. A neat way to do it is just fold it back onto itself. And that makes the petals fold into themselves, as opposed to some of them I've got valley folds and some of them I've got mountain folds. I like to also take my handy dandy bamboo skewer. You can use whatever you want to roll these in among, onto themselves again. You can use, the end of a paintbrush. Anything that's a small little curve to it like this. I find that the bamboo skewer works real good for me because it's nice and long. Just the bamboo skewer that you use in cooking. I find it works real good. So I've got my small flower. I'm going to do the same thing on all my flowers. I'm going to make sure that all the little folds fold in. It also helps too if you fold the petals up, to where they're no longer cut, so you have like a little base. It just also helps to keep it fluffy. Once again, I'm just going to curl them in. Now the first couple flowers you kind of curl in, but then after that you kind of want them to curl outward. And a natural flower, you see that the petals on the inside of the flower kind of curl in because they haven't unfolded yet. But as it gets older and older, the flower starts curling outward. So that's what we're going to do. We're just kind of curling these in. Okay, I'm going to do that now with all the rest of these that we've cut out. And I'm going to pause the video and I'll be right back when I'm done. Okay, I'm down to my last flower. I'm going to make sure that all of the petals are folding in on themselves. And you probably noticed as you cut these things out that some of the petals are thick, some of the petals are thin, some of them have got a wonky edge, some of them are, not exact, like this one's pointy, and I've got some that are more rounded. You know what? It's a flower. I don't care. And I'm just trying to show you some simple little flowers that you can make where you don't have to go out and buy any of the special dyes or anything like that. All you need is just paper and scissors, something to roll them with. Bamboo skewers, when you're cooking in the kitchen, you get like 100 of these for like $1. They're very, very inexpensive. You don't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of products to make some cute little flowers. Okay, and now once again, I'm just bending it up so it's got some depth to it. Okay, now we're going to start gluing these together. You're going to glue the like sizes together. And I'm using hot glue for this. And what you want to do when you lay down your glue and you start gluing them together is make sure that between your spaces here, you see a petal. You're just offsetting the petals. So all your petals will be offset when you put this together. And the easiest way to do it is just pick 2 petals and make sure the one underneath it is offset. So I'm going to glue the first group of same size together using hot glue. I'm going to offset it and hold it till it's set. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to grab the next bunch. You're going to do the exact same thing. Hot glue in the center. Once again, you can use regular glue. It doesn't have to be hot glue. You just have to wait till they set up. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm lined up in a staggered way. And then glue the next set together. And you can see on this one, you can see this one little flower is thinner than the rest of them. I don't care. It's a flower. So now I'm just going to set these down, staggered again. Make sure you see your other your bottom flower's petals through the openings. Set it aside. This is our last one. Put the hot glue in the center and do the exact same thing. Now you notice I have these curled in. We talked about that, because the flowers generally are curled in the closer you get to the center. You might have to adjust them and curl them some more. Actually, what I do is just kind of bring them up and kind of fold them back onto themselves. I think works pretty good. You know, makes it look like the center of a flower unfolding. Just give it a little pinch. See how that looks? Okay, now we're going to start assembling everything. Get your largest flower. Put some glue in the center. Get your next size up or down, however you want to look at it. Make sure when you put these down that this bottom petal is between two petals on the bottom. So once again, it's staggered. I'm going to do the same thing with the next one. Glue in the center. Going to line these up where my bottom flower here is staggered between my bottom flower here. So it kind of looks like the top one's laying on top of it. But then you're starting to build up your different layers here. Now, I like to kind of fluff these up and bring these to the center, so the flower's not so flat. And you can fluff it and adjust it when you get it all done. Okay, here's our last one. I'll put that in the center. Once again, stagger it. I'm going to push the center in. I'm going to bring up some of the leaves on the outside and scrunch them together. So the flower has a little more definition. It's not so flat. And I'm just poking it all together. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just poking it all together. Just gathering it all up. I'm not even worried about the different layers. I'm just bringing the stuff up. Okay, there we go. Now you can put something in the center if you want. You could put, you know, like a pearl or some kind of little glitter thing. You could put a brad through it to attach it and have some kind of pretty little brad. Or you can just leave it the way it is, you know, and scrunch these together a little more so it looks like a flower's really unfurling. Okay, there we go. Isn't that cute? Now, this is a fairly big size one, but you don't have to cut them this size. You can cut them any size you want. Just do as many layers as you want. You saw that we had 8, but you can do it with small, you know, less layers. You can do it with 5 or 6. It doesn't matter. Here's another one I made. It's a little bit smaller. And here's the one we just made. Pretty cute there. Okay. Thank you, crafters, for joining me for the month of March. I just wanted to do a quick recap on all the cute little flowers that we've made all month long. These were our first flowers that we did for the very first episode of KISS, Keep It Simple Sylvia. These were rolled flowers that look similar to ranunculus to me. Made them out of all sorts of different papers. You can see how tiny you can make them and how big you can make them depending on the size of the circle that you cut. Also the size of the spirals that you cut makes them thick or thin. You could decorate these by putting glitter glue on top or maybe running some paint over the top to highlight the coils in it. Then we moved on to the cute little carnations we made out of just plain printer paper, and then we decorated them with a Sharpie. But then we also decorated them with watercolor pens. And then we also put paint on them. And then I showed you some of the ones that I made out of brown paper bags. And I talked about actually I used distress ink on these. And then we went to our little rosette, which is the typical flat little flower, pleated flower. Usually has a disc on the top. This one has a button. You could put bling on it. You could put a pearl. You could put a rhinestone. You could put a brad. You can do whatever you want, however you want to decorate them. And then we ended up with our peony, which is a bigger flower. But you can make it any size. You can make it smaller. And once again, you can use paint. You can use Sharpies. You can use watercolors. You can also use Copics to decorate. We had to roll, so we used a simple bamboo skewer to roll, but you could also use the small end of a paintbrush and roll. Regular scissors, scissors with special ends, cutting edges to them. This is tweezers that you can use that can help make the ranunculus better, but you didn't have to, because the one I made, I showed you that that we just coiled it up with our fingers. Paper piercing tool for the carnations if you wanted to use a brad. Handy dandy stapler. Just simple basic tools that you can use to make some really beautiful flowers. And I think this whole collection here looks mighty, mighty cute. So I hope you enjoyed spending the month of March with me. I know I enjoyed spending it with you. And I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to you joining me in April. Thanks again. Thank you, crafters. Bye now.